everybody, this is Rebecca Thorne back again. As you can tell, I'm clearly trying to amp up my YouTube channel just a little bit. I am excited today to take a break from critiquing to read something that I could critique for a very, very long time. This is my book. This is the first chapter of The Secrets of Star Whales, and it will be released on March 23rd, 2021. And so I know since you just got an email, well, I just got an email, March 23rd, 2021. Y'all take down that note. But you can actually pre-order this book right now, which is so exciting. They're having a 30% off sale. So if you use the code HOLIDAY30 through the end of this month, December 31st, you should be able to get 30% off of this book with the link I provided down below. So if this first chapter appeals to you and you're a fan of Doctor Who and the Magic School Bus and School of Rock, actually, is the plot is very similar to School of Rock. You should really love this book. It's got music, it's got engineering, it's got whales in space, it's got a small town gossip, and it's just, I mean, I loved this book. From the moment that I started writing it, I just really felt like this was something special, and I'm so happy that Caitlin, my agent, and Mari, my editor, agreed with me. So anyway, I'm super excited to kind of share the first chapter of The Secrets of Star Whales with you today, and I hope that you all pre-order, which helps me out a lot. Thank you, and let's get started. Okay, here we go. Hang on. There we go. Oh, it's so pretty. When I first saw this cover, like the way that like she incorporated the cover into, oh my God, I just love it. It's just so pretty. I love it. Okay. Chapter 1, The Tourist from the Abyss. India twirled the marble-like ball between her fingers, shooting me a wicked grin. Get ready, Max. You have 15 seconds. The education level's tube-like corridor was crowded, and not just with our classmates. The entirety of Azura's students, kids ranging from 5 to 16, were returning from lunch. Well, returning would imply that we were going to our respective classrooms, but almost everyone had their noses pressed against the plastic glass windows instead. Because, in the gaping space beyond, bat-lit by the bright pink Keoloa Nebula, a foreign starship was being towed to our space station. Behind us, Mrs. Smith, our temporary teacher, after Mr. Brusca had his accident, barked, "Back inside, all of you! That idiot's broken ship won't help you on next week's exam. Move!" "Now or never, Max," India whispered, presenting a tiny ball again. Blue and white swirls wrapped around the orb, and when thrown, it would release a fog so thick I'd have no trouble escaping Mrs. Smith's scrutinizing gaze. "Get this gossip. It's all you." Now she was just being dramatic. "We don't even need the smoke bomb. Why don't we just sneak out?" "Too late!" With a wild laugh, she threw it against the polished faux wood floor. The smoke bomb exploded in a burst of white fog, filling the hallway with coughs and screams. I tried to grab her arm, take her with me, but she shouted, "Tell my story!" and vanished in the pandemonium. "India!" She was gone. And really, we couldn't waste a good smoke bomb, could we? I sprinted past the other classrooms, ducking into the first adjacent hallway. The potted ficuses provided excellent cover from the teachers thundering towards our classroom and the chaos. Azura, our space station, was shaped like a big multi-story wheel. The outer tube rotated to maintain gravity, and spoke-like corridors led to a few elevators in the center. We were on the education level now, but the starship would be docking 3 stories above, on the hangar level. I pressed the button to summon one of the elevators and plotted an excuse for why I wasn't in class, just in case the lift was already occupied. But the double doors dinged open without a soul in sight. Airtight. I grinned and bounced inside. All this sneaking around made me feel like a secret space agent or something. Geez, I'd be such a great space agent. It took a few minutes to arrive at my destination, but I'd already crafted an excuse if confronted. Our class was learning about starship docking protocols, and Mom was supposed to make a presentation. Considering she was the lead harbor master, everyone on Azura knew her authority. And of course, I'd be the one sent to retrieve her. It was foolproof. Right up until I heard Mom's voice at the end of the corridor. My excuse only worked with someone who wasn't her. She'd pin me in a second. I swallowed hard, sweat beading on my forehead as I hunted for cover. But this wasn't like the education level. There were no conveniently placed plants to hide behind. I spun, but the elevator was already gone. Another would take too long. Time ticking, I pressed against the smooth wall, which was painted a cheery shade of purple and lined with flickering holographic images of asteroid mining missions from Azura's early years. A vintage e-poster at my side advertised, "Digits are yours for the taking on the edge of space. Mine ammonium for a year and live like a king forever," with a picture of a silvery ammonium asteroid gleaming amid the normal rock. It was all propaganda, but it had propelled Azura into a bustling mining town, at least until the ammonium supply began to dwindle half a century ago. Now the only people left were the ones who actually liked living here, and occasionally a real actual tourist. I pressed myself flatter against the e-poster and tried not to move. Maybe Mom wouldn't notice me, standing alone in an empty corridor. Ugh, Indy and I did not think this through. But Mom was chatting with Kaito, the space traffic controller. I inhaled as they stepped into view, but they were walking with purpose along the outer ring of this level and didn't glance left to see me. It worked! Plus, they saved me the time of checking every hangar for my target. I crept to the outer circle, peeked around the corner, and watched them disappear into Hangar 42. The doors slid shut and silence fell. I counted to 10, then crept to the hangar. It was sealed tight, standard protocol for welcoming a foreign starship. Not that that stopped me. My heart pounded as I knelt beside the tiny metal panel just to the left of the doors, plucking my hydrodriver out of my back pocket. The panel popped off with barely a nudge of the thin tool, revealing a snarl of wires inside. And past them, the switch to override the locking mechanism. In my head, a theme song for my escapades was already forming, a litany of swells and staggers that made me feel like I was the lead in an action holovid. I nudged the wires aside, carefully, to reveal the tiny black switch. I moved to press it, and the door slid open to reveal Mom, waiting with crossed arms. I screamed. I didn't scream. Screaming was for little kids scared by old stories of flesh-eating sirens in space. No, I merely offered Mom a smirk and a cool two-fingered salute. Yep, that's what happened. At some point during my totally legit reaction, I dropped my hydrodriver. The skinny tool skittered across the floor, knocking against Mom's boot. She plucked it off the ground and examined it as if she'd never seen one before, which was crazy considering you could switch between 12 different tools with the flick of a finger. Hydrodrivers were a staple in every engineer's toolbox. But let her look all she wanted. I took advantage of the distraction, subtly rearranging the metal panel in a last-ditch effort to hide my tampering. It didn't work. The distinct snap gained Mom's attention, and with a huff, she shot me the look. You know the one. That stare all moms use, pure derision that silently says, "You messed up." I flinched. Maxian Cameron Belmont. She drew out my name, forcing me to taste the disappointment in every syllable. How did I know you'd be here? Obviously, someone had seen me sneak away and snitched. With my list of usual suspects from my class, from Nishira Robinson, self-appointed communicator, aka gossiper, to Taryn Zhang, stuffy class president, to Rhett Resnick, holier-than-thou bully, there were too many possibilities. But snitching meant giving up the chance to bribe me for juicy gossip, and Azurans loved to gossip. That was the real reason India had plucked that smoke bomb for the recesses of her patchwork jacket. Considering we hadn't seen a tourist in 3 years, a front row seat to this event would make me king. I mean, come on. But that snarky reply wouldn't win any favors with Mom. So I tried something different, my built-in defense these days. Mr. Keller asked me to test the integrity of the hangar doors. A lie, but hopefully a convincing one. Considering my job with Keller was the only thing financing a repair for Dad's Decivox, it wasn't so unbelievable. The instrument could still craft a melody, but sitting in a closet for a decade hadn't been kind to it, and sending such a specialized instrument to the inner planets wasn't cheap. But I'd give anything to hear it play properly. For a breath, my oh-so-convincing lie almost worked. And then Mom rolled her eyes. Nice try. Mr. Keller wouldn't ask you to work during school hours. Tell me what you're really doing here. It's true. You're the one who told me to get a job to learn the value of money, I said, using air quotes around her words and everything. Wrong move. She pursed her lips and tapped her foot. Max? With my window closing fast, I switched to classic shameless begging. Under her look, I dropped to my knees and clasped my hands together. Mom, I have to get a look at that starship. Please. It was spitting purple exhaust. You know what that means? She heaved a sigh. It means you kids spend too much time at the windows and not enough time studying for your futures. Yeah, right. We all knew how much studying was getting done now that Mrs. Smith, the infamous teacher of Azura's 13-year-olds, had been forced to take on our class of 12-year-olds as well. Hint, it wasn't much, especially not with India's smoke bombs. I cleared my throat and plowed ahead. Come on, Mom, purple exhaust. That's only found in a Stark wheel generator. Do you know how rare those are? They can cross a star system faster than India could get into trouble, but I wasn't about to say that. Then a miner can clear an asteroid. There, perfect for Azura, the has-been mining hub of the 5th star system. Mom glanced over her shoulder. Past her, the hangar's inner airlock doors creaked open with an almost musical trill, like the first few notes in a symphony, hovering over the precipice of something life-changing. A thrill raced up my spine as a gust of wind from the pressurization process buffeted us, flipping my dark, curly hair into a tizzy. Before Mom could fix it herself, I clawed it back into some semblance of appropriate. The starship had docked. This was it. I bounced on my toes. Just a peek, please. With a sigh, she tossed me the hydrodriver. A slight smile played on her lips. When you talk like that, you sound just like your father. Oh, that wasn't my intention. Even the casual mention of Dad closed my throat, choking me. It had been 2 years since he died, but this was his Hydro driver. He'd shown me how to override the locking mechanism on Azura's doors. He'd taught me about Starkville generators. Suddenly, using those things to see a stupid random starship made me cringe, like I was disrespecting his memory, even though he'd probably be proud of the fact that I could hack a hangar door in half a minute. Impressed, even. But Mom's eyes were shiny, which snapped me out of it. I swallowed past the lump in my throat. It was so hard when Mom cried. I had to be strong for her, so whenever she mentioned Dad, I forced a smile I didn't feel and changed the subject. If we didn't talk about him, she wouldn't cry about him. And neither would I. Camille, ship's docked, we need you, Kaito bellowed from inside. Thank the stars for simple distractions. I quickly and carefully compartmentalized my brain, boxing up the emotions around the word Dad. After 2 years of practice, I'd gotten pretty darn good at it. Be right there. Mom tugged a holopad from her pocket, powering on the thin device with a flick of her wrist. The square, transparent screen glowed gold as it connected to Azura's local network. She studied it for a minute like she was boxing Dad up in her own mind, too. When she looked at me again, her expression was clear. After a tense moment where I widened my eyes to kick puppy levels for the sympathy vote, she ran a hand through her dark hair. Fine, I'll give you 10 minutes. Then it's back to class with you, Maxian, before Mrs. Smith calls again. Airtight, it worked. On a space station where gossip was the best kind of currency, India and I would be living like royalty for a week. This was so worth one of her smoke bombs. Oblivious to my wicked thoughts, Mom shook her head and strolled back to the docking bay. I followed like a second shadow, grinning as the foreign starship came into view. This close, I noticed details we hadn't been able to see from the plastic glass windows outside Mrs. Smith's room. The heavy cords of one of the miners had attached to the exterior, helping tow it back to Azura. The glowing serial number on the underbelly, registering it with the Department of Galactic Vehicles, and the name, printed in white letters underneath the dark cockpit windows, Calypso. I gaped. It was sleek, gorgeous. A Tracker Mark V, maybe a Mark VI. Impossible to tell without getting inside the flight deck. But Tracker and Starkville didn't collaborate on their equipment, which meant this starship was privately modified. My fingers twitched against my Hydro driver, itching to explore, to discover what else its mysterious owner had altered. What is he doing here? A stern voice cut through my awe, and I spun to see Mayor Zhang standing beside Kaito, the space traffic controller. Kaito couldn't care less about me. His watery eyes were glued to the holopad Mom showed him, muttering about the foreign starship as it settled behind us with creaks and pops. His presence made sense. Kaito supervised all open space around Azura, making sure the two-person mine ships didn't collide on their way to and from the asteroid belt. Mom, of course, recorded all starship activity. But the mayor? She had an entire space station to run. She didn't deign to visit just anyone. I couldn't contain my smirk. This was excellent. Camille, Mayor Zhang said, pursing her lips. It was obvious where her daughter, Taryn, had got her sour attitude. Shouldn't your son be in class? I had to bite down my reply. Shouldn't you be in your office? But truthfully, I had no idea what a mayor did during working hours. Maybe she was supposed to be here. Mom waved off the mayor's concern. This is an excellent learning opportunity for Max. You know he's going to be an engineer someday, just like his father. The more exposure he gets to new starships, the better for Azura. Another pang of guilt curdled in my chest, like it always did when Mom insisted I was going to be an engineer. I was good at mechanics, good at starships, but I was good at other things too. I was good at music. Not that being good at music would fix my Decivox. Nope, money talked, and the only digits I had came from working at Mr. Keller's shop. So I let Mom think what she wanted. When I got Dad's Decivox back from the inner planets and could amaze her with its true sound, then she'd understand. Mom flashed me a dazzling smile, and with determination simmering in my soul, I smiled back. Mayor Zhang sniffed. Well, Taryn could learn about diplomacy from this experience, but you don't see me hauling her out of class. Maybe you should if she plans to run for your position when she's older, Mom replied steadily. I shuddered. Bossy Taryn controlling the entirety of Azura? Nothing would make her happier, or us more miserable. Either way, I'm sure Mrs. Smith appreciates the break from so many students. Natalia is doing her best. We'll find a substitute for their class soon. Mayor Zhang glanced at me again, pointedly, as if to say it was my fault our old teacher had broken his leg in 5 places and had to spend 6 months at the inner planets for specialized rehabilitation. If anything, India started that chain of events, not me. Job's been posted for 3 weeks, Mom sighed. Everyone qualified is busy elsewhere. You know that. Ladies, Kaito interrupted, jerking a thumb at the starship. It was fully powered down now, and the seams along the underbelly cracked open. I sucked a breath. The owner was coming out. Big smiles, everyone, Mayor Zhang said. Mom put a hand on my shoulder, and I trembled in anticipation, fingers curling around the Hydro driver. Stars, I wish I had Dad's Decivox right now. Something about the old, worn wooden instrument comforted me a lot more than a cold, hard tool. The stairs pulled away from the tracker starship with a hiss and a black cloud of smoke. Didn't take an engineer to know that wasn't normal. I flinched and Mom pulled me back a few feet. Kaito, call the fire department. Her voice was urgent. Max, stay here. The smoke curled around the starship like poisonous gas, and the stairs clanked to the metal floor. Mayor Zhang's facial expression rearranged into one of horror. Kaito tapped Mom's holopad, placing a localized order for help. Mom, however, surged forward, covering her mouth with the fabric of her shirt as a figure appeared at the top of the staircase. A man. I stared in shock as the newcomer staggered down the stairs, clutching a yellow mask to his nose and mouth. His pale skin was covered in soot, his sharp red hair muddled with it, and he missed the bottom step and almost crashed headlong into Mom. Then, in the echoing silence of Hangar 42, he coughed into his arm, slumped to the ground, and said hoarsely, "Whew, don't try to fly one of these on your own. It is not a good idea." And that's how I met Mr. Hames. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. I absolutely adore this book. I don't know, Max was such an interesting character for me. And I love throwing in like the Hangar 42 for, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And just like Mr. Hames has such a doctor vibe, like he just feels like the doctor when I was writing him. So this book to me is just like so beautifully done in my opinion. And it only got that way because Caitlin and Mari just had such amazing feedback. And so did everybody else. I mean, the copy editor and, the book designer, the cover creator, the artist. I did a whole blog post about how we created the cover, and it's just like, it's gorgeous. It's amazing. It really takes a village. So even though I was able to write this book in this way, like it would never have been as polished and beautiful as it is without all the people who were contributing to it. But I hope you really enjoyed it. I love reading this first chapter. It just is the start of such a fun adventure to me. And I really hope that you guys are, a little more intrigued now, maybe a little more inclined to go out and pre-order if you haven't already. Every pre-order really helps me out. They all go towards my first week of sales, which helps, my standing with the publisher and as a debut author. So once again, March 23rd, 2021, there's a code down below that if you use, you can get 30% off through the end of this month. So please take advantage of it. And if you guys would like me to read any more things, just shoot me a message and let me know. Please hit the bell icon. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm doing live streams a lot more often now. And I would love for you to join me for some future ones. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you have a good day.